You're listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. This is episode 144, where we talk about whether or not you should be buying or selling firearms right now, or whether you should be doing both or neither. Thanks for listening, and as always, we hope you enjoy episode 144 of Range Minded, the stuff you should think about before buying and selling firearms right now. Hello and welcome to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. My name is Mark Long, and I am joined as always by...
As always, by Steve Zimmerman.
The one and only, and also by...
Here again, Nick Hoffer.
As always as well. How are you guys doing today?
Good. It was a long day, but it was good. Was it warm over there?
Yeah, it was beautiful here yesterday, for sure. It was kind of rainy today.
I mean, it really wasn't warm here, but...
Relatively.
Yeah. The sun was out, for what it's worth.
That's important. There's snow in a lot of places lately, so I think we should count our blessings in that we had weather above freezing and it was sunshine today, so I'll take it.
It sounds like Island Park got like 18 inches or some ridiculous amount. So
really,
yeah,
that's quite a bit actually.
Of snow. It's really only like 2 inches of water, but
sure, but still, that's nothing to sneeze at. I would say 18 inches.
Lots of fluffy white stuff.
Man, but that's how it works over there. So it's a little different in the Treasure Valley rather than over there, I would say.
It's definitely warmer over there.
Yeah, just a little bit. So, but we're not going to talk about weather today, actually. We are talking about kind of current events, the current state of the gun world, but kind of some thoughts about what you should do in the gun world if you're thinking about buying or selling or both. Are any of those good ideas? Should we be doing that? Should we be holding on to what we have right now? Just kind of an open-ended conversation about the state of the gun world. So, because I was thinking about selling a gun recently, and I'm like, well, do I really want to do this? Am I going to be able to get it back easily if I wanted to, or what's the deal with that? So it kind of served as the inspiration for this episode.
Well, it'll be a good conversation. Like there'll be ups and downs, I think.
I think if you want to sell your high point, now's a good time to let it go.
Yeah, you'll probably make some money on it.
Yeah, there might be a few other things you might want to hang on to, but I've also been debating on whether or not I want to lessen my 1,000 AR mag collection down to like 550 for tax purposes.
Could be, yeah. So, but yeah,
what's that time? That's a lot of money times $200.
I know. I'm a little nervous that I might not have enough write-offs at that point.
Oh.
Maybe the tax stamps will be write-offs by that point.
That's right. Maybe.
So, well, what I'm really hoping is that Idaho will follow suit with Missouri, and then we won't have to worry about any of what's going on in the world.
Ooh, so you'll have to fill me in on what happened in Missouri, because I'm not sure, actually.
Did you pay attention to that, Steve?
Where they're nullifying any federal gun laws?
Yeah, where they put in or introduced legislation to nullify previously existing and future gun laws.
On the federal level. Yeah.
Yeah, on the federal level.
So that means basically no NFA, no tax stamps or anything like that? Or what does that mean for Missouri?
I haven't read all the way through it, but from what I got from the short little first paragraph was that it took away all the NFA, but I'm sure that they'll implement something about machine guns. But at the same time, their fight is that their statement in there was the Second Amendment wasn't about regulating gun ownership. It was about you being able to own whatever firearms you wanted.
Sure.
It's kind of an interesting concept because look what the states have done with marijuana, right? It's the exact same argument.
Sure. In fact,
the same argument. That's even a weaker argument.
Yeah, and I would say especially because every other state except for Idaho, and I don't remember the other state, has done that with marijuana, and the feds haven't come in and said, no, you can't do that. They've just kind of skirted around it. So what what fight they should have a really good fight when it comes to, well, you know what, you got precedents with the federal drug laws, so we're going to do it with this, which is a constitutional right.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
There's much more standing. Maybe not as much case law, but there's definitely more standing.
The
for
transition
it.
And the transition across should not be that far fetched of a leap either.
I wouldn't think so.
A federal crime is a federal crime, and you talk about ATF, you got drugs in there as well. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going to fall, but I hope that it passes, because that will put some more pro 2A legislation into effect.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see that dynamic. I'm not terribly hopeful for it, but I know that there are some state legislators that have talked about doing something like that.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to kind of see where that goes, I guess.
It could be really awesome.
We'll keep it on the radar for you and report back if anything does happen, because that could be very interesting, and that could set precedent, like you said, like with other things where one state after another decides to take those steps.
Well, we're already seeing multiple states taking steps against executive orders, so I think that we're in a period where people are going to start questioning what Congress says is okay and what they're passing.
Could be.
Yeah. Well, you even see in states like New Mexico and Pennsylvania, where they went very blue in the presidential election, but now they're quite upset because of the loss of good paying jobs.
Sure. Yeah, we'll see.
I think there'll be a lot of upset people on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, well, and that kind of does bring us to our point of the podcast, is where, should we be thinking about selling, guns, or should we be holding on to what we have? What do you guys think? Let's just start with selling, because obviously buying guns is a little bit more difficult now, but I do have a couple of questions, kind of more philosophical questions about that at this point. But what do you think about selling guns? I mean, do you have guns that you're thinking about selling? Do we, or you want to hold on to everything we have just in case, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'll let Steve go first, because we have opposing opinions on buying and selling guns. So.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so? I don't know.
I think so, because I think you're more of a collector and I'm more of I only own what I use, and then I cycle them out. Maybe a little bit. I've always been the person who like when I bought the Nemo Omen, I really, really wanted it. I spent a lot of money on it, but in order for me to justify the next purchase, which was building a bolt gun, I sold that and then I bought my next gun. So I kind of rotate through guns and don't keep a huge arsenal of them, because I'm a big believer. But
that Omen's a sick rifle too. I'm surprised you've let it go.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with it.
That's what I mean. It was sick, right? Not awesome sick. It was just ill.
It's been a lot of It's been a lot of time at the doctor's office, so I just let it go.
I guess that highlights the difference between gun owners too, that there are some who do collect certain kinds of guns, some people who just like to have a bunch of guns and buy a bunch of guns, and then there are some who only have what they use. And I mean, I think that those bring up some good questions. So Steve, you were about to talk.
Yeah, I probably really do have an illness when it comes to purchasing guns. I really enjoy buying guns, and sometimes I spend more money than I should, and things get behind in other places, which that's not a wise decision. Make good financial choices. But I also look at them as an investment. I guess that's the collector side of it. I mean, I know I have a couple of guns in one of my safes that I could turn around and, at least double what I paid for, maybe a little bit more. And I've actually thought about it. I've thought about kind of reducing the confusion and maybe increasing some of the quality of the stuff I have. And that still may happen. I don't know. I actually was asked the other day if I'd be willing to part with one of my ARs, and I'd thought about it before, and that's why my buddy called me. I was talking to him about it, but now I'm kind of holding out a little bit longer. Not that I need to have as many ARs as I have, which is none of anybody's business, but I really don't need more than 2 or 3 anyways.
And it would be safe to say that you have 3 for every child that you have.
3 safes? 3 safes for every child that I have?
Oh, that might be safe to say too.
But I don't know. I think when it comes to selling, that's really something that the gun owner is going to have to decide for himself, because I think there's going to be some difficult financial times coming up where you might need to sell something for other reasons. I don't know. Again, I kind of look at some of the stuff I've bought as an investment, even though my wife doesn't feel that way at times. I'm not opposed to selling guns, but what I will say is every time I sell a gun, I feel like I have seller's remorse badly.
Oh, sure.
I feel bad. Like I lost a child or something, maybe not that extreme, but I've let something go that I should have kept. And that's a little rough on me sometimes, but
sure.
What do you do?
See, and I want to say that if you want to, you should sell your guns, but I feel like I catch a lot of blowback for saying that in this market of, I don't know, the US, I guess, because obviously the guns are worth more money right now than what you paid for them a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're sitting on 2 or 3 lower end ARs and you paid $400 to $600 for them, I guarantee you're getting $800 to $1,000 right now if you put them online for sale.
Oh man, I was on Palmetto, and I had built some guns using some of their parts 2 years ago, and the exact same kit was double.
Really? Legit double?
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I can't believe it.
And so I think that if you're ever gonna sell something, now would be the time if you have the right things that people are looking for. Obviously, hunting rifles, not sporting rifles, bolt action hunting rifles probably aren't as big of a market as an AR-15 rifle. But then the other side of that is, if you sell them now, you may never be able to replace them depending on what happens.
Yeah.
Or you might not be able to replace them for a very long time. I don't think that ARs, if they were to be banned, would be banned for any longer than this presidency. And I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that's not even a thing. But if it was to happen, you wouldn't be able to replace that gun that you sold.
Yeah, it's kind of like the assault weapons ban back in the 90s or whatever, where you weren't able to replace anything. You were able to just have what you could have, and you never know, And I think it really comes down to how many firearms you have and how many of the same kind of firearms you have. You know what I mean? Like Steve said, for example, maybe 3 ARs are maybe a good number just in general to have, just because that can cover a wide variety of situations. But then again, could you do the same everything with one AR?
Yeah.
So for me, I look at it. I'm not a collector. I have a lever action rifle collection, but other than that, I'm not a collector of any firearms.
Sure.
I like to shoot guns. I like to own guns. I've owned hundreds of ARs and different pistols, but I probably could fit all of my guns that I have now in a 16 gun safe.
Sure.
And that being said, I need to have a rifle, a pistol, a shotgun, and I have a rifle and a pistol for my son so that he can shoot or whatever. God forbid the world goes to hell. We both have things that we need to protect ourselves and protect our stuff. But other than that, I don't think that for me, I need a bunch of stuff. I like to cycle through my stuff, and I like to get new stuff. Other people like to hang on to it. Maybe when I'm older, I'll feel that way where it's I just want to have as much as I want. But for now, it's not a big deal for me. I buy and sell guns, parts, and guns all the time.
See, and it's interesting because the same kind of different schools of thought are evident in the motorcycle community or any other community, where there are some people who buy and sell cars left and right, or buy and sell motorcycles left and right, it's no big deal. Other people get kind of emotionally attached, and wonder if they're able to get it ever again or, that kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting to have two schools of thought, on it right now, Yeah,
and the latter is definitely part of my personality. I mean, I have the first vehicle I ever bought. I still own it. And it's just been a part of my family. Like, I just can't help it.
Sure.
Steve is a hoarder.
Not quite a hoarder. I was going to abbreviate it, but that sounds terrible. So yeah, I don't know.
So I was gonna say to what Mark said that I've heard this a lot from customers that come into my shop, and that is, and I've never really heard this in any other industry, so it's interesting to me. And that's the saying of, I've never sold a firearm that I've bought. I've kept every gun that I've ever bought, and I've heard that probably hundreds of times from people. I don't know how true it is, but for some of them, it seems to be true. And it's interesting to me where, like, the idea that no matter what gun you ever bought, you never intend on selling it.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of an extreme example, because, I mean, there have been a couple times, more than once that I've bought a gun and I'm like, man, this gun actually, like, I thought I wanted it and I shot it for a while and then it sits in the safe and I never use it. And it's like, okay, I don't like when something else new comes along that I want more. It doesn't actually faze me to get rid of that one.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. Like, I had some custom rifles that I built and pistols when I worked at Taxel that had like my name and the serial number, and I sold them.
Yeah.
They're worth a lot of money now. That's why.
Well, I did get offered a lot of money for them as a set. So
nice.
Well, I think that brings up a point, though, is that sometimes, like, maybe buying a gun and having it in your, like, shooting it once or twice and thinking that it's awesome and then having it are two different things. Kind of like a boat. Like, maybe you've got a friend who's got a boat and it's like, man, that's super cool to have or whatever. But then you buy one for yourself and you realize this is not for me,
Yeah. And I've had a chance to shoot a lot of guns too, so I haven't had to really worry about buying something I hated. Pretty much everything I own, I like.
Sure.
And there are some other guns that I have a different kind of connection to. Some that were gifts and from certain people that mean a lot to me that I'll never sell either. Like there's a special connection, which is weird. Like I'm sure there's some kind of a psychological dysphoria associated with that too. Like developing a relationship with an object, but I don't know. It's me.
Well, but no, you bring up a good point though about gifts actually, because some of my first guns I got were gifts from family, and it's like I could never imagine selling those, no matter how bad I would need money. It's just because they're kind of sentimental in that regard. Whereas there are other guns where it's like, I could probably get rid of this if I really needed to. You know what I mean?
And even I can agree with that, because two of the guns that I have, I would never sell because they were gifts.
So I think we can agree that maybe if it's a gift and it means something to you, unless you're like really hard up for money, that you probably
and you really don't like it,
then you probably can sell it. Yeah, but I think that you could probably get rid of more guns than you think. Or most people could probably sell more guns than they think, because you really can only shoot one or maybe two at a time. And like if you look at it from a practical perspective, just like Nick was talking about, if you have one maybe for each of your family, or something to that degree where you're able to have everybody armed that needs to be in your family or your home unit, then you're probably have as many as you need, but need and want are two different things. So,
right. And another thing when it comes to selling, like guns aren't really worth anything if you don't have the ammunition to feed through them either.
Sure.
I mean, I guess there's some barter value to them, but you never know.
Well, I will trade my guns for silver any day.
What about GameStop? Would you sell guns?
I already have a bunch of that.
Yeah,
that was what my Facebook post was about. Someone asked me where I made that money, and I said I bought the GameStop stock right when it came out, and I sold it as soon as it went over $13.
Nice.
That's why Nick is sitting pretty.
I only made $500.
Only. That's a new AR. If you can find one.
You used to be.
Was a new AR, yeah.
That's like 100 rounds of 5.56.
So, speaking of buying and selling guns, I am about to buy a gun this week, actually.
Really? Well, I guess that'll dovetail right into the next chapter. This is buying guns. I mean, so I guess I'll conclude the selling part with that. You may be able to make my only thing is that if you don't shoot it very much and you could use the money more, you might actually be able to get more money than you would normally than during certain times. So if that's the case, then it might be wise to actually sell the gun. And if you're okay, maybe never having that gun again, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I would say, kind of echoing what you just said, would be, like I say, I think there's going to be some pretty serious financial struggles for a lot of people coming up here in the next couple of years, maybe.
Sure.
So be prudent.
Yeah, liquid.
If something you
might be
really
to have
need
some liquid assets at the moment.
Then keep it. But if it means making it harder for your family to buy food, then maybe you should let it pass and hope something comes up. But
just don't sell your last gun. You might need that to get
not your last
down
one.
the road.
Yeah, I think having one is
don't
probably,
liquidate everything.
One is better than none for sure, and maybe two is better than one. But I don't think I would go any less than one rifle and one handgun. I think at that point I would think to keep those no matter what.
And maybe it's a good idea if you have a lot of multiples is liquidate those and get some good solid training with the platforms that you have, because that really will have a better return of investment.
Yeah, consolidating might be a wise choice as well to get the kind of get the best bang for your buck, I guess you could call it. Yeah. So, but no, let's move on to buying, because that's the other thing is that obviously it's a tough time to buy firearms right now, and but the need might still be there. And so my big question is, do you find yourself paying more for a firearm just to have one, or should you wait until things maybe calm down? Maybe they might not.
I personally think things will calm down a little bit, probably not to the level that we saw a year and a half ago. But in comparison to what we're seeing right now, I think it'll get a little better. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. And I guess it depends too on, whether you're buying an AR platform or you're buying a handgun or something a little maybe less desirable or less kind of in demand,
Yeah. I walked into a shop. So I've walked into a few gun shops and actually talked to somebody that works at a big box store, outdoor sporting goods store. Boy, sure. I can't talk tonight. Some gun stores have quite a bit of inventory. I'm kind of surprised. Some of the other ones don't have much. Even more the more established gun stores, they're kind of limited. I'm not quite sure how some of these smaller guys are getting the inventory. But I talked to a mutual friend that we know that works at that big box store, and he's saying that they're doing 300 transfers a week.
Wow.
And I think he meant just at that one location. That's
transfers as in like online sales and just transfers?
They're doing transfers as far as sales, online sales and in-store stuff. So with a combination between sales and transfers. So
that's a lot.
That's still moving a lot of guns.
That's moving a lot of guns.
I was about to reconsider my position on my FFL.
I know. I still want to get one.
Because I refuse to do transfers because I don't want to have to pay someone to receive all the guns. But if I could do 300 a week.
Yeah. At like $20 a pop, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, you're doing okay.
I wouldn't need to work.
So Nick, what are you planning on buying? Because you said you're wanting to buy something this week.
Yeah, so here's my position. So like I said in the beginning, there's certain guns that like I just want because I think they're cool. I think it's a nice gun. It's something that I've wanted for a while, and I've been putting it off.
Yeah.
And last year I wanted to buy one, and they were out of stock, and so I kept putting it off. And they just went back in stock the end of last week, and it's the Delta S DS9 by MCM Firearms. So it's a 9mm AR pistol, 10.5 inch barrel.
Sure.
And I'm gonna bite the bullet, and I'm just gonna buy it.
Now, is it more expensive than it usually is? Maybe under normal circumstances, or?
I don't know. It's roughly $1,600. I don't know. I think that's about what they normally were. They weren't cheap.
Right. Yeah. I guess at that point, if it's not cheap, then what's another $100 going to matter?
And it's a nice rifle. MCM does a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, it's funny because like I'm friends with Brock and the owner over there, but I've wanted to buy one, and I've shot it a bunch because I demo them out all the time. And I was just like, you know what? I think that's what I want to be my primary rifle right now.
Sure. That makes sense. And if you're going to have one rifle, it might as well be a good one.
Well, I'm not going to sell my 5.56 rifle, but I'm gonna bring this one in as a smaller option. Plus, I'm on the fence. I don't know. I kind of want to get Steve's opinion on this. So, 5.56 rifle versus a 9mm AR platform. What do you think the downfall is to that? Besides like some range and some penetration.
Well, I guess it depends on the application, because you're going to get obviously range with a 5.56, but shots on target, not that 5.56 is going to recoil much anyways, but you're probably going to lose a little capacity with the 9 compared to the 5.56, just for the nature of the magazines.
Right.
I don't know. Those pistol carbines are kind of cool. Like 9 will do a good job. Honestly, I think I'd bump up to like a 10mm maybe. I think that'd be awesome. But
I think they might have a 10mm version. That'd be a good thing to look into. But I was kind of thinking, like 147 grain subsonic 9mm ammo.
Yeah, with a cool can, that'd be awesome actually.
Because it's gonna have my can on it. So
yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. Like I'm not against it.
So, and that kind of went into my decision making of like, I don't have a can for my rifle, but I have 2 pistol cans.
Yeah. As long as your pistol cans are going to be rated, because you're going to go 16-inch barrel, or you're going to do a pistol platform.
I'm going to do 10.5.
Okay, so you might be okay. Just because that increased pressure might wreak havoc on those cans. I don't know.
Yeah,
well, if it blows up, I'll send it back to dead air.
Yeah, you're probably okay because they make a pretty solid can.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing too. Like, should you maybe invest in a different platform that you don't have, or maybe it's a lot easier to get 9 where you're at than 5.56. Maybe should you invest in a pistol caliber carbine of some kind instead of an AR, maybe, or especially because it is cheaper to shoot.
Yeah. Well, kind of.
Relatively.
Yeah, at this point, I used to say that I loved having one caliber, so I don't own any, like, I didn't own any 45 pistols that I carried. I have the XDS 45, which I've been carrying, but I don't have a lot of ammo for it. I have like 100 rounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas 9mm, I have ammo,
a little more
supplies, but it's just, I loved the idea of always keeping all of my guns within the 2 caliber range.
Yeah.
So then the idea of having a pistol caliber carbine was cool because I could just carry 9mm ammo, and if I had to, I could run my pistol mags in the rifle. But at the same time, I'm like, does it even make sense? Does it, like, why not just shoot them out of the pistol?
Well, you're going to get a little bit more velocity out of them too, and more stability. You're going to be way more accurate on a rifle platform than a handgun platform any day of the week.
Sure.
But I mean, you think about like the MP5 or some of those other subguns, they're running 9mm, and I mean, they're effective.
Now, if we're in Missouri and I could have this full auto, this wouldn't even be a conversation. I would have the 9mm in a heartbeat.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, full auto MP5, that wouldn't be too bad.
Well, that's a 9mm
rifle platform.
And just because you guys brought up MP5, I'm getting the one that takes the MP5 mags, I think. So I won't be able to transfer mags with my Glock.
Yeah, well, then that's kind of weird.
It's just because I like the MP5.
Do you get a slap it? I mean, is it a side charge?
No, it's not a side charge. I told him he should have done a front charge, but it's got the same mag release and it uses factory HK mags.
It's interesting.
Huh. Yeah, it's kind of unique.
Yeah, I really want to get a good solid BCM. Like I've thought about some high dollar ARs and after messing with like LWRC and Daniel and stuff, I think BCM is my go-to. I need to move a couple guns, and I think that's what I'm going to end up settling on in a 5.56.
I just bought a 5.56 bolt from BCM because it's the only one I could find, and it was expensive.
Yeah, well,
they're not cheap.
They make quality stuff.
Yeah, but it is high quality. So, but that, I guess that leads me to another point is, should you maybe trade some stuff out? Maybe you have a couple extra guns, but maybe you don't want to spend a ton of cash. Are you able to find some kind of trade or barter, especially if you've got a shop that has some things in stock, or you can free up some cash? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think it's okay. Personally, I would rather sell privately to somebody who's got a concealed weapons permit than I would trading a gun in, because you just never get the complete value, because the store's got to make their money, right? I mean, it's just the nature of the beast.
Well, you're paying for the convenience, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you're paying a lot for the convenience.
Sure.
I think trading is only worth it if you have something unique.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more?
So, I mean, if you have something unique that they can't necessarily get or that somebody really wants, then you have an upper hand opposed to cash. Because I will trade for things that are unique, because sometimes no amount of cash will buy that from that person. But sure. if you have something unique that either the store or the individual wants, they might give you more than what you could actually get in cash for it.
Yeah, that might be true.
Point. Yeah, that's true.
Like if you had 9mm ammo right now, I would just use that as trade, just like I used to do with 22 ammo.
Well, that's basically the Bitcoin of 2021. So
absolutely,
yeah,
it's the 2.8 Bitcoin.
So,
and just like that, a meme was born.
Yep, I think you should. That's a T-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, the Pew coin.
The Pew coin. Hashtag Pew coin. So. Do you think, but what if you can maybe you've got a friend who's got a collection and you've got a collection. Do you think that there's maybe, like, if it's all private sale, do you think that there's benefit to trade, in something that you want?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. You just need to make sure you know what you're getting into. I don't like private, like I just said, I don't like doing private sales with anybody that doesn't have a concealed weapons permit to start with, because I like to know that I'm not selling it to somebody that shouldn't have a gun. But even people that pretend to know what they're talking about, sometimes if they put something together, they might not have a clue, and they could have screwed it up, and then you're out of luck if you traded for something that's a pile of junk.
True. That is true.
Yeah. If you're talking AR or pistol build stuff, like if you don't know the parts that are in it, like you can't look at it and see for yourself, like, oh, I know what this is and I want it, then you shouldn't trade on it as on the person's word. So like I've had a lot of people bring me in rifles and show me their builds and like explain it and describe it. And when I look at it, I can tell like that's not exactly what you have. And it's not worth quite as much as you think it is. A lot of times I don't say anything because I don't want to insult them because they're proud of it. But I wouldn't buy it at the value that it is to them. Especially being like on our side, like we might have an opportunity to buy that stuff cheaper than what they paid for at retail.
Oh, yeah.
So the trade value would be different for me opposed to maybe my neighbor who doesn't have the same opportunity as me, which then goes into I may be able to trade to my neighbor something that he doesn't have the opportunity to actually buy because I was able to get a deal or buy something that wasn't readily available on the open market.
Yeah, that's true. You might be able to use your industry kind of, hookups to your advantage because you have. And I used to do that a lot
because I used to do that stuff a lot when I worked at Taxol, because people would send me stuff to demo or to put in content, and then I would build something with it. And then in order to get something else new for different content for the company, I would trade it to someone for something else. And
Right.
I've done that a lot. That's probably why I don't have a big gun collection, because I'm always trying to get new components and new products in so that I can put them on Instagram and then I trade them out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's we've got kind of a unique position that we're in to be able to do that kind of thing. And I think we've got a lot more knowledge than the average kind of person about what things are worth and what you can and can't get. Do you use that to your advantage maybe to make some money or to help people out, or a little bit of both? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's okay to use that, not to take advantage, but as an advantage if you can understand what I'm trying to say in the difference. Because I don't really want to screw somebody out of something when I know it's not worth it. I've seen that a lot at other gun stores, and I've seen people make deals in the gun stores that are pretty ridiculous.
I'll give you a cool example of something that I did.
Go for it. So
when I lived in my old house, my neighbor next door, me and him used to ride dirt bikes together all the time. And he's not a part of the gun industry, not big into guns like the rest of us. He's into guns, but not like us, right? So when I worked at Taxel, I built this custom AR-22 rifle, and it had some random stuff, some high-end components and whatnot on it. And I think I was into it like $500 hard money. And he had a KX 110 that I really wanted, and he wanted to sell it for $1,800. So I gave him that rifle and $300 cash, and he gave me the bike.
Huh.
So that's an example of it was a good deal for me,
Sure.
and it was a good deal for him because he could never build that gun. No one would have ever built that gun the way that I did, because I used parts that, I think the buttstock on it was like $300.
Wow. Yeah.
And it had one of the first collapsible AR buttstocks on it, which just the adapter was $200. So it was a dumb build, and it was way overbuilt, but he really wanted it, and so we traded.
Yeah.
Hey, why
you're
not?
Also trading your access and knowledge and your kind of your time into building that and putting it together. You could kind of make that argument as well. So.
Yeah, and he still has it.
Well, then that's a good thing.
Trade him the dirt bike back.
He wants to buy the dirt bike, but I don't want the gun.
Yeah, I think it comes down really to demand. Is what is valuable to you? What do you want? And that doesn't mean you have to, screw somebody over or whatever. But I think that if you can, use your position and help maybe people do get what they want and kind of be compensated for that as well, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Well, and I guess the other way to look at it too is the longer people wait that don't have anything, the free market's the free market as well, right? So sometimes, they're worth what they're worth. And if they're not available, but only a few places, then they're going to be worth a lot more.
Right.
Well, and I think people get caught up, especially those of us that are in the 2A community, on what they consider price gouging. And I like to remind people that it's not necessarily price gouging when the demand is so high and the supply is so low.
Yeah.
When the price goes up, it's not because necessarily the retailer or the supplier wants more money. It's because they raise the price to get less people to buy.
Yeah.
To try and give themselves a break to catch up. So if ammo went from $10 a box to $15 a box, and it was still selling at the same rate at 15 as 10, then it goes to 25, and hopefully 20% of the people are like, oh, I'm not going to buy it at that price, and they slow down on buying extra.
Yeah.
But people don't see it that way. People instantly are like, oh, they're just trying to screw them, and it's like, no, some people might be doing that, but really the manufacturers can't keep up, so they have to raise the price to slow the demand.
Yeah. Think about how silly it would be to price your customers out of your store. That's not how it works.
Yeah, you're not doing it to try to make a quick buck. It's just because there are so many things that, because somebody could come in with a bunch of money and buy you completely out, and then nobody else can buy it,
Yeah, it's the same thing as limiting quantities that you can buy. Same thing as saying you can only buy 2 boxes.
Well, and that's happened. And that's kind of the reason why we are with ammo is somebody that's got a little extra cash during a panic buy. They're like, well, I'll just hurry and buy all this up. And then it kind of screws down, down the line. People get left out.
Yeah.
Honestly,
there's a gun store here. There's a gun store here that still allows you to buy as much as you want. And
nice.
On Thursday or something, they posted on Instagram that they had 4 pallets of ammo come in. And one of my customers that comes in every Friday to the shop to hang out for a while, he said, I was there 30 minutes after they posted it, and it was all gone.
Jeez. That's insane, man.
So that means that the people that were first in line bought a bunch. And Drew was telling me every time they do that, he sees the same people in line.
Yeah, that pisses me off. Stop hoarding it, people.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, seriously, there's enough to go around, and you can take your time. I mean, what have we heard about the ammo companies? That they're opening up whole new factories. They're, trying to make as much as they can, and it'll come in. But if more people are panic buying and hoarding stuff, then it's not going to go well for anybody.
Well, and if people wouldn't buy for a week, I mean, I think that would help a bunch.
So in my mind, that's worse for the community than putting a limit and raising the price, right? Just allowing people to buy unlimited amounts just so that you can make all of that money and instantly sell it. Yeah. Not only are you doing a disservice for your store because now nobody's coming in throughout the week to buy stuff and you sold out of your inventory the first day. So you made all of that money on the ammo sale, but nobody's walking in to pick up 1 box of ammo. Yeah. Nobody's coming in to get a box of ammo and leaving with a gun and a holster. Well,
and if you have a range, then nobody's coming in to use that ammo to shoot either because you don't have any ammo to have people come shoot at your range either.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's detrimental to just let people hoard. And you know what? If it's your business, you do whatever you want. But I think that it's harder on the industry to just let people purchase everything, and especially if you notice it's the same people every time.
Well, and sure. 8 million new gun owners, and if 5 million of those can't buy any ammo, then that's 5 million of people that are untrained and unable to protect themselves.
Or they might even be carrying with the wrong kind of ammo,
or nothing, just to scare the bad guy off, which is even worse.
Right.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm a big proponent of know what you want out of this, right? So I don't need to have 10,000 rounds of anything, because you know what? If something really bad happens, I'm not going to stay stationary. I live in an apartment. I am not posting up in my apartment in an apocalypse.
Yeah.
So whatever I can't carry, I don't need.
Right. If you're not going to shoot it or you're not going to carry it, then it probably isn't going to be doing you much good.
Yeah. So if I have 20,000 rounds of 9mm and I'm not a competition shooter and I don't train and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to have this because I might not be able to get it. Well, if I collected that over 15 years, that might be different. But if I just went out and bought 20,000 rounds because I was like, I just need to have it. Like, I don't know why you need to have it, because I can't travel around with 20,000 rounds of ammo unless I'm going to take my truck everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's how I am about guns.
The other problem I can only
carry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can only carry a pistol, a rifle, and maybe a shotgun. I can't carry 14 ARs when I'm trying to be mobile and defend whatever I need.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the practicality kind of comes into mind. And I think when people get paranoid or they see runs on stuff, that they kind of start to act irrationally. You know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah.
I'm going to take all of my money that I'm not spending on buying extra ammo and extra guns that I don't need, and I'm going to buy night vision.
Nice.
There you go.
Because I feel like that's a better use of my money.
Well, I guess that kind of brings up another interesting thing to think about. Is there anything that you think maybe non-firearms related or accessories that you should be buying now? We've talked about it a couple of times in past episodes, but maybe if you do have all the firearms you need and you're not thinking about spending any more money on firearms or selling them, maybe where do you put your money then in your kind of firearms journey? Is that magazines? Is that night vision or body armor or anything like that? Or
I don't see anything wrong with having body armor or night vision. Just know what you're buying, because there's some really affordable night vision that's gonna suck. Just figure you're gonna pay close to $2,000 per
eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll go up if you really want some awesome stuff. You're gonna spend a lot of money, $8-10 on some really cool stuff.
So the stuff that I've been learning a lot lately about body armor and night vision, and I kind of want to, over the next year, I want to kind of explore the use of body armor and night vision as self-defense and home defense. And so I've been looking a lot into it, and the night vision that I've been looking at is like $3,500 an eye. It's not cheap. Yeah.
So it's the white phosphorus.
Yeah. And there's cheaper stuff, and I'll look into that too, and I'll do some research on that stuff for people too. But I've also been looking at body armor, and I've been looking at the difference between some steel plates versus some ceramic plates. And I got some really good insight from Raul Garcia at Ada County Sheriff's Department when he was looking at my steel plates, and he showed me his new ceramic plates, and it was like an 18-pound difference between his vest and mine.
Well, and he might have Angel armor too, which is amazingly light, which is unavailable to civilians.
I was going to say it's also not accessible for the normal people. So
yeah,
right. And it was funny to look at like his perspective on body armor compared to mine, because I don't have any experience running it. And he goes, it's great that you have all those mag pouches and all that. He literally said all that shit on the front of your vest. He goes, look at mine. And he lifts it out of the front of his patrol car, and it had one magazine mounted sideways, and that was it.
Really?
And he goes, from my experience being on the SWAT team and wearing this thing all the time, he goes, I want to be as mobile as possible. And that's why I have ceramic plates. One, because they're a third the weight, and I want to be able to move. And two, if I need all those mags that you have, we're in some serious trouble.
I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah, he's like, and three, I want to be able to be mobile and not have a bunch of stuff on me. He goes, so unless you need it, don't wear it. And I was like, that makes sense. He goes, why are you wearing body armor? And I said, well, I just want it for a self-defense situation. He goes, exactly. So if you're not engaging a threat, you probably don't need 150 rounds of ammo on your chest.
Yeah, you're probably assessing the threat, stopping the threat and then getting out of the situation. That's a good point.
Yeah, so I kind of listened to that kind of stuff from him and assessed like the weight factor, and then started looking into different plates, and they are expensive. I mean, compared to the steel plates that I have, the steel plates were like $150 for both, and all the ceramic plates start at like $250 a piece.
Sure. Yeah, and that doesn't even count the cost of the carrier either.
Yeah. Well, carriers are pretty
fairly
inexpensive.
Sure.
I was watching this documentary where this guy had a suit made, and he was kind of a hitman thing, and it was a really good documentary, and he was really mobile too. But it was John Wick though. So
well, if we're actually really interested in going over some body armor, I actually have a guy that just moved here into town who knows a lot about plate carriers and things like that, who used to actually design plate carriers and work over at Tactical Tailor in Washington.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's who I've been kind of talking to quite a bit about the difference in the carriers.
Yeah, we should have him on and definitely have a full on episode about it. I think that would be beneficial for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I need to upgrade. I mean, I got a few options, but some of them are heavy and some of them are extremely outdated. And so it'd be nice to move those along and get something different.
Yeah, for sure. So Well, anything to add on that, anybody? I think we kind of covered most of it.
Well, I was, and maybe I guess it's part of it too. I was looking at Nick's Instagram, and dude, that holster, that OD green holster you have with a setup, that's freaking awesome.
So that's Drew. That's the guy I was talking about who comes into the shop. We've changed out that carrier and belt system for him probably 7 or 8 times over the last year as he kind of figures out how he wants to carry things.
Yeah, I really like that. I might have to talk to you.
And he was actually there when Raul showed me his plate carrier, and Drew ordered ceramic plates because he's like, this thing is really heavy.
Yeah, that setup he's got right there. Did you do all those mag pouches and everything?
Yeah, I did all those mag pouches and that holster, and I'm going to start I'm working on some new designs for a different duty holster. So he's kind of demoing some of it out. But I'm going to do a level 2 hood because that seems to be really popular, and some quick detach with those thigh straps, stuff that I've never done before, but people are asking for. So I'm kind of going to expand into that. And if you've watched my Instagram, you've seen like I've been posting some more like tactical type stuff.
Yeah.
Because people are really wanting like some more duty style gear for training. And so I'm kind of doing a little bit more of that.
Yeah, that setup's pretty close to what I want to get going on one of my things. And that's something else that you could really spend money on too, is move one of your handguns and get a good quality rig that you can actually carry things on.
So I can break it down really quick what he has sitting there. He has a plate carrier, he's got a belt set up, and everything sitting there is right around $1,200 to $1,500, not including the new plates. But that has level 3 plus plates in the carrier as well.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's a sweet setup.
Well, and yeah, maybe we should do a full episode on setups and body armor and that kind of stuff, and have some folks on that are kind of experts on it. And I think I agree with you, Steve, 100%, is maybe if you do have a lot of guns, but you don't have a lot of kit set up, maybe it would benefit you to start investing in that and adding to that part of your kit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good investment, because that's really is an investment.
So I just want to, this is kind of funny, so I'll share it really quick with everyone. So you talk about carrying all of those rounds that you bought and all of those magazines.
Right.
I had a guy come in, and I'm making a setup kind of like Drew's for his gear, but he bought 35 AR mag pouches.
What's he going to do?
I don't know.
Cover himself head to toe.
I wrote it down. Yeah, so I wrote it down, and then I went through all of the other stuff with him that he wanted, and it was a really big order, right? And so I'm going through, and then after he left and I was writing down, putting it in the schedule, I was like, wait a second, did he really say 35 mag carriers?
That's ridiculous.
Like I had to message him and he goes, yeah, that's what I said. I go, okay. And I'm thinking he's got to be doing something like mounting these things somewhere. I have no idea, but yeah. 35. I mean, I have almost 1,000 AR mags, but I don't have 35 mag carriers, and I make them.
Yeah, that's pretty insane, man.
I hope he's going to sell them.
Maybe he's got some drops, different places that he's got set up for himself.
And let's put this into perspective really quick. I've never sold 35 AR mag carriers to the range, let alone one individual person.
Well, yeah, who knows? But I think that brings up a good point of, if you're going to buy and spend a bunch of money on gear or whatever, then make sure you're thinking it through, and you want to know what you're getting all that gear for and what your use case is. So,
yeah, spend your money wisely.
Yeah, think about it before you panic buy anything, really, and that includes ammo, firearms, or whatever. So,
if you're going to panic buy, make sure it's on my website, hofftac.com.
There we go.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing to end on. Nick, where can we find that setup on Instagram, right? What's your Instagram handle that people can find you?
So it is the last post on @Hofftac_industries.
Awesome.
And then from there, you can find my website, hofftac.com, and then Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, it's all the same. Hoftech Industries.
It's all there. Yeah, and you can find us at Range Minded Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And you can also email us, podcast@iishooting.com. We love getting questions and episode suggestions and whatever you want to send us, really.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time.
All right. Be safe. Spend your money wisely.
Take somebody shooting if you can as well.
Yes, please.
All right. Thanks for listening. See ya.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.